It's time for the State of Pro Wrestling, scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. And now, from parts unknown, your tag team champions of the world, John Orlando from the PVD Cast and Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos. Ding, ding, ding! Feel like always headbanging when we got that theme song going. There you go, like that. And we're back for another State of Pro Wrestling. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and also as well the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us, but I wouldn't be in the ring without my tag team partner extraordinaire. You got to go ahead and catch what he's doing today at the PVD Cast, starting with the PVDcast.com, but also as well wherever you get your podcasts. And also Matt Talk, not wrestling, Matt Talk covering everything Matlock. Oh, the old Matlock. Not the new Matlock, but the old Matlock. The Andy Griffith Matlock. There you go. It is my good friend. It is John Orlando. What's up, my friend? Tagged in?
Hey, not much. I hope everybody out there that's listening, that's watching, they had a great Thanksgiving with friends and family. And I didn't do too much for Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was, as I said earlier, eventful, busy. Black Friday was a day I'll probably won't soon forget for a while. Just one of those Murphy's Law days. Third Thanksgiving feast for the family. It was always good. Food was good. Food is still backed up in the fridge, filled up to the core, which is pretty good considering I've got two teenagers who have quite the metabolism and can eat through quite a lot of stuff. So we'll see what damage they can do on the leftovers. But doing good, my friend. Doing not too shabby. Ready to talk some wrestling. Thanksgiving isn't what it once was for the pro wrestling industry, John.
Mm-hmm.
That part I miss because you talked about Star Wars, Dallas Reunion Arena every year, during the 80s for the most part. You had special shows, I believe, for Mid-South Wrestling, sometimes at the New Orleans Superdome, I think that used to run as far as during special days, special events. Of course, Atlanta in the Omni with WCW. Then they turned it into Starrcade. And now we have everybody take the week off. We'll just record some shows in advance and then we'll do a pay-per-view on the weekend. How about it, my friend?
I do miss that, that the holidays were connected to the Survivor Series or Starrcade or, as you mentioned, Star Wars for World Class. I miss that. I really do. And, I know historically it was always kind of the promotion, the local territory had, I don't want to say brainwashed, but had really gotten their fans to coordinate and say, okay, Thanksgiving equals wrestling later in the evening. So I miss it. I do really miss having that because I think I shared on the show that I used to count it down like on Thanksgiving when all my family was over having turkey and pie and all that. I would write down 3 hours to the Survivor Series, 2 hours to the Survivor Series, 1 hour to the Survivor. Just to something that I did to just kind of, pass the time and ultimately as well, show my love for the Survivor Series.
Yeah, and something I miss as well. Again, the corny music, the theme music that for the WWE doing the Survivor Series, and you had as far as Starrcade, the canned music, which only WCW could buy at that point in time because stuff that you probably heard from a car sales commercial probably at another channel, whatnot, but then they had that as an opening, and then you had doon do 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 doon do do doon do 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 wrestling Star Wars. By the end of the 80s, it was not very much of a war because there really wasn't much of a roster left for WCCW. But yeah, it was a special time. I think AWA ran some shows, I think,
Uh-huh.
during that holiday period as well. I mean, it used to be such a big time. I know we're going off on a tangent, guys, and bear with us. But again, I know we sound old when we're talking about this, but a lot of our listeners still do remember those times when Thanksgiving period, John, was the only thing I can relate it to in today's market is right around WrestleMania week, as
Mhm.
far as all the promotions running big shows during that period of time. Not necessarily in one place, but all over the country. But it was done during the Thanksgiving holiday season.
Yeah, and I'm sure that probably every territory had something going on Thanksgiving night, and yeah, I miss it too. It was something that as a kid I remember fondly, as I mentioned with my little countdown, and I was so lucky in '90 I got to go to my cousin's house to watch the Survivor Series on pay-per-view. I was so ecstatic for that because I had never seen a pay-per-view because my parents weren't wealthy. We didn't have, heck, we didn't have cable for a long time. So having a pay-per-view was like, what? You're gonna pay $40 to watch wrestling? No, no, you're not. My parents would not have gone for that. So luckily my cousin had a satellite dish and maybe some other equipment. And that's how we managed to watch the pay-per-view. I mean, the statute of limitations is long up on that. I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's not like I ever partook in such a thing. No, that would be illegal, and that would be terrible to have a magic card that might have bypassed the satellite system. But we won't discuss that right
No.
now. But I my memories of getting pay per views. We sometimes I would buy them at my house. Sometimes early on I went with a fellow Wrestling Observer newsletter reader at that time, Peter, in Palos Verdes. I would drive up to his house and we'd split 50-50 on them. I know one time I even watched WrestleMania 3. I watched that from another friend's house as far as that's concerned. Yeah. So I have some great memories of pay per views as well. And definitely, would love to see that continue forward in and around the Thanksgiving holiday season as well. But there is one pay per view that still centers itself around the turkey holiday, and that is the Survivor Series, which took place this past weekend at Petco Field. Reported number, and I always put that in quotations when it comes to WWE, so it's subject to your review on that one. And I know that there's WrestleNomics and other entities that try to go ahead and state what the actual number is per se, but it's over 40,000. Let's just put it that way because they announced 46. It's probably right around in and around 40,000. Still a great house. With the business, in my opinion, being in most areas down outside of Mexico right now, it is creatively not the best of times right now for both AEW, WWE, Japan, and whatnot. Although, actually, New Japan with retirements are actually getting a huge wave, and as far as sales is concerned, for their early July Tokyo Dome show. So that actually is saving their company, the companies in Japan right now. Excuse me, New Japan right now with what's going on with there as far as retirement ceremonies is concerned. But for the most part, they've been lacking their creativity as well and suffered as far as attendance pretty much across the board. So not the greatest of times as we talk to you right now, but again, I think it's a positive sign where you can still fill up San Diego's Petco Field. I've been there. It's a pretty good venue to watch sports, and that this past weekend it was a pretty good time to watch Survivor Series. Let's go over the matches real quickly. One of the matches on the show was Nikki Bella, who I didn't remember see winning a match in months. Somehow got a title shot against Stephanie Vacour because why not? She just backstabbed her and betrayed her, and that warrants a title shot. So in that in of itself tells me that's very poor and lazy booking. But it turned out that Nikki Bella is still on a losing streak as she lost to Stephanie Vacour. I am not brokenhearted over it, but your thoughts on that match between Stephanie Vacour, who seems to be, even though despite the language barrier, they and I'm really happy for this. The WWE does lean into the Io Skies, the Asukas, the Kairi Saints, the Stephanie Vacours, the Gilias, as far as being able to go ahead and despite what the translations or the how they cannot verbalize as well as some of the American or Australian or English stars can, English speaking stars can, they're still able to go ahead and put Penta is another one as well. So your thoughts, my friend, on Stephanie Vacour retaining over Nikki Bella? I'm not broken up at all about it because Nikki Bella reminds me of an area of time where I wasn't the biggest fan of women's wrestling, at least what was being put out there by the WWE. I think they've seen better areas of time, better eras of time than the one Nikki Bella was in. Your thoughts, my friend, on that matchup?
I thought the matchup was going to be awful, just on paper. Just to me, Stephanie Vacour deserved a better opponent, in my opinion. The match was, yeah, it was mid. I mean, in fact, this whole pay-per-view was kind of mediocre, but this match was.
I know JSJ said it sucked. I said it was meh. I don't think I
Yeah,
would argue with him on that. If you think that's the case, I can't say it was disappointing for what the talent involved was all about.
exactly. So yeah, Stephanie Vacour, great job on retaining the title. By no means did I feel that Nikki Bella was going to get a victory. And again, you talk about the lazy booking of it. Like, oftentimes I look at when they create tag teams, and it's very obvious, or at least I felt, that something was going to happen between Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vacour because they just look like, for lack of a better term, they look like two women that would not hang out with each other if they were out in real life. Like, you get what I mean? So why would they
Yeah.
tag team again with each other? To me, that's pretty obvious that okay, one of them's going to turn. Like Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, they look like they would hang out with one another outside of work, so to speak.
Mhm.
So this whole Stephanie Vacour versus Nikki Bella match was a bad idea to begin with and should not have even bothered with. They should have moved Julia up and had Julia versus Stephanie. I think that would have been a 10 times better match. In fact, that would have been match of the night.
Probably because the bar wasn't set very high,
No.
as far as that's concerned. But once again, it is John Orlando along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. We're covering Survivor Series this past weekend at Petco Field in San Diego. Wanted to go ahead and mention as well the other singles matchup that was it took place, which was John Cena in supposedly his next to last match. Again, I'm going to say supposedly until that Saudi Arabia WrestleMania goes by and John Cena's not in the ring for it, doing something. I'm going to say that supposedly his second to last match on that, as far as defending the Intercontinental Championship against Dirty Dom Mysterio. We're going to talk a little bit more about Dirty Dom here a little later on the show, my friend. But again, I think this epitomizes John Cena. John Cena doesn't have a variety of moves that he goes to. It was AA after AA after AA after AA, and Dirty Dom now is getting at a point where he is going to be, most of his move set is cheating, doing a 619 and then doing a frog splash. There's not a varied move set between those two, but they're really good at what they do, and it still provides a okay match even with that parameters, even with those parameters, with all the run-ins, all the interference, the reemergence of Liv Morgan coming back from injury, thinking that she had sided with John Cena and supposedly slapped Dominic Mysterio, even though, as you and I could see from plain as day, I think I could get closer slapping you now than what she did with Dominic Mysterio. And I'm in Nevada and you're in the Midwest. And I'll just leave it at that. So with that, though, she betrayed John Cena by giving him a low blow, and then that led to a victory for Dominic Mysterio. I think it fits because it's Dirty Dom. I understand he's going to be, for now, relying upon his dirty tactics to engineer matches. Really, right now, it's cool. That's fine because it goes back and harkens back into Eddie Guerrero era. We'll talk more about Dominic Mysterio. So I guess what I can say right now is this was my match of the night. But again, the bar was not that high. But I know that JSJ hates the way that this is the way that John Cena went out. But this epitomizes his whole run. And if he wanted to say no, he would have. But he said yes to losing the title to Dirty Dom.
I thought this match was overbooked. Just that's the best way I can describe it in one word: overbooked. There was just too many run-ins, too many things going on. I honestly, I wonder if indeed it was overbooked, because I'm assuming they had to improvise for a couple of minutes when Dom was getting himself recollected after landing on his shoulder in that awkward position, which was probably not part of the game plan. But I mean, it was good if you just would have taken out all of the run-ins and just had it maybe be one run-in, have Liv be the only one that does the run-in, and then same ending. That would be awesome. I didn't feel like Finn Balor and JD McDonough needed to be there, or Perez and
I think that was
Raquel.
the run-in. I think that gets everybody. And I understand the Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez one that led to Liv Morgan. I just wish they would have confronted each other, and in doing so, to make it look like the deception even more would be something that wouldn't happen, but eventually did happen. It would have been nice if they scripted that a little bit more. But I get you with the overbook part. I really get you, especially with Finn Balor and JD McDonough coming in doing the double AA. That it wasn't great.
Yeah. So I to be honest with you, I'm gonna say this was probably my favorite match, or maybe the women's War Games match actually might get that prestigious title. I'm not sure. I'm really, this shows how mediocre the show was. I'm kind of like, I can't really pick out a great matchup, out of the 4 that they gave us, which, if I may for a minute, Gerald, just deviate from our conversation. I do give a tip of the hat to SmackDown. SmackDown gave us what we wanted, the 5-on-5 classic Survivor Series match. Why it wasn't on the PLE, I don't know, but at least we got it, because I've been clamoring for one for years now. Put one on. It doesn't have to have
SmackDown was
talent.
better than Survivor Series the next day. I'll just put that in there.
Yeah, you would be. You're correct. I can't argue that. But my thing was with doing a classic 5-on-5 on the PLE. Think about it. You could do NXT versus AAA, or you could even jumble it up and have some TNA stars versus some people from Evolve. You could do, because they have all these umbrellas. Use it, and it doesn't have to be a 45-minute match. 5-on-5. You could keep it quick moving, especially with the luchadors. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. There you go. There goes one guy. Next guy goes. Next guy goes. It make it quick. Keep it to 12 minutes, and you got yourself a great match. That
would have been better.
Yeah, that might have outshined anything we saw last night.
Might have, but unfortunately, we got what we got. Again, it was my best match of the night, but again, it would be probably 2.5 stars, I think, at most, as relating it to a match. But again, when it comes to Dirty Dom, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but I'm worried about him living off the Dirty Dom and just cheating everything. And when there's a situation or a moment that they're going to ask him to be providing a technical part of his repertoire and showcase varied skills, I don't know how much he's going to be able to showcase that, because of what he's now relied upon now playing the Dirty Dom character. But we'll see. I hope so. But again, we'll get more to him later on the show when we cover who might be the next breakout superstar in pro wrestling. But for Dirty Dom, it was needed. He needed to win the title, and he needs a title. I think going forward, he's got 2 of them right now. One in AAA and one for the WWE, and the 2 War Games matches. You got through them. You got through them is probably the best way I could say it. The women's match was really disappointing, because that, I thought, was lining itself up to be the match of the night with what was on paper. On Friday, we saw the best match probably in the WWE in a little while with Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Those two, I think, can have a great match in their sleep, one on one, when one of them is not hurting themselves, because there was a time when then Charlotte fell off that's how she blew out her knee there, and Asuka's hurt herself in the ring with Charlotte Flair. But those two seemingly have great matches all the time, and it didn't translate into Saturday. That heat, the intensity, or that was built up over the weeks, did not translate into just the Io Sky spots where she's doing the trash can, or she's working with Rhea Ripley. It's nice, it's fine, it is whatever. But you've done it before. It's been there, done that. And that all four of the five ladies had to sell for a spot where Io Sky jumps off, puts a trash can on, jumps off the top of the cage for a cross body on three of the four. Okay, I'll say two of the four, and the other two ladies had to actually fall down with it. That looked bad. Yeah, it was not, the payoff wasn't as good as the setup on this one. And for the men, nobody cared about the storylines going in. Nobody cared about, there was the heat that was provided by anything relating to CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, the Usos versus Paul Heyman's crew. Nothing. There was no heat. Zippo, no interest at all going into it. And that's exactly what we got out of it, as far as nothing. It was basically 40 minutes of nothing for me. And at the end, they teased a little something as far as between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And then Triple H in the post-game show said probably one of the dumbest comments I'll ever hear in my life is that Roman Reigns is bigger than a championship. When, facing Roman Reigns is bigger than a championship, or paraphrasing something like that. That to me was, I don't know. It wasn't money or time well spent when you consider the War Games matches. And that to me is the biggest disappointment of all, John.
Well, I think when it comes to the women's, I was disappointed they didn't do more with Lash Legend. I really had I had really bet on her having a breakout War Games. I really do, because I like her. I think she's very talented. I think she's got a lot of potential. And they did nothing with her. I will say this. I appreciate the fact, because this is my big problem with War Games. My big problem is the cage is not a weapon. Last night it got to be a little bit, but it's not a weapon. They have all the other kendo sticks and trash cans and toolboxes and wrenches and everything. At least with the women, they carried out their foreign object to the ring. So I'm like, you know what? That makes it a little bit more plausible that you happen to be backstage and you found a chain. And so now you're going to take it and go down to the ring where there's a no disqualification War Games match. That makes more sense than stopping, climbing out of the cage, climbing, like in the men's. Like Jimmy Uso went and got that table. Like, at what point do you think you can manage to get a table in that ring when there's all the action going on and everybody just stops and lets him slide that table in? And to me, it just takes me out of the element of, I guess if this was a real fight, you wouldn't grab a table, right? I mean, so, yeah. And look, I don't know who's the masked man, and I don't really care. And much like the men's War Games, I didn't care because you had Logan Paul and Brock Lesnar just randomly thrown in, with zero build. They at least mentioned it, that Lesnar might have some bad feelings with Heyman, because that was my logical sense. Didn't Heyman turn on Lesnar, and then they had that whole little thing for a couple of weeks, and
it's WWE sweeping things under the rug, my friend.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, yeah, look, I'm hard pressed to pick a best match. Like I said a few minutes ago, I might say it might be the women. Or it might be John Cena if it wasn't overbooked. But it certainly wasn't the men's War Games match for sure. It just didn't. It was boring, to say the least.
Yes, and the Masked Man, yes, was revealed actually last night through several outlets last night as being Austin Theory, because Seth Rollins has not been cleared to compete with, because he has the shoulder injury. but it was meant to look like Seth Rollins with the curb stomp and whatnot on CM Punk to set up the finish. Again, Universal UM, is commenting about how that there was a lot of dissension backstage on how to set up the match, who goes when, and then how the finish was going to be laid out. It again, the finish. What if you have an issue with the finish? I can't say I blame you. But it's the 40 minutes before it. It's the time before it, what they set up as far as spots. It doesn't matter which order you go in, John. It matters just what you do once you're in the ring, the spots you call, the moves you make, the intensity that's getting the crowd going, finding spots that will get the crowd revved up. I mean, outside of in the women's match, outside the EO Sky spots, there was nothing really that the crowd was interested in that either. It just, they're sitting on their hands in both of these matches for over 40 minutes, just waiting for the finish. And that's not the way War Games was exciting in the past. I mean, the worst thing sometimes can do is the best thing that they have right now is the WWE Vault, because WWE Vault in the case of these matches that come up, Survivor Series and War Games and whatnot, they show you better versions of what they did previously than what happened on Saturday night. It is because they would showcase War Games matches from the past, the first one, the second one, and not the original War Games matches, and showed you exactly the blueprint of how you could get it done, and chose not to. They chose to steer themselves away from that, John, and I think that was a costly mistake. And the fact that leads to a pin. It used to be submission or surrender. That was a gimmick that I liked better in this case, because it makes it more of a War Games type feel. Yeah, just so many issues. I can go again. This was such a underwhelmingly booked card, and I feel really disappointed for the 40,000 plus in San Diego that saw it.
Yeah, and I don't know what more to say other than there were a lot of rumored matches that may be added to the show. And I think some of those were better than what we would have seen there, especially one of the heavily rumored was Julia versus Chelsea Green, which that would have been 6 minutes of pure entertainment. Wonderful. Great stuff. But I don't know. They went with what they went with. And, I agree with you. When you have the access to go and watch what's happened in the past and seeing what works and what doesn't work, you have no excuse for the poor booking that you did on a PLE.
Universal is saying, Rumble in Saudi's going to have Roman versus Cody. Oh boy, can't wait! I can't wait indeed. Yeah, there you go, exciting. But that is our coverage of Survivor Series. Again, I don't, if you want to go by the old Wrestling Observer newsletter, was it thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs in the middle? Again, I said it was meh, but you know what? If meh is not good when you're paying money for this or doing the app, or it was supposed to have been advertised on YouTube TV was supposedly the deal. I didn't see it on YouTube TV, which is a kind of a disappointing thing. So I'm going to give it, just for that alone, a thumbs down, because I have yet to see the spoils of WWE now being on YouTube TV, like many reports had suggested that it was going to be. So thumbs down for me on that. John, it sounds like it was a big thumbs down for you as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Universal, Gilead, I mean, you could say that about a number of wrestlers not being over right now in the WWE, and that's a bigger issue. I think John and I are going to have to do an evergreen episode on what's gone wrong with WWE and can we fix it. But as we're saying, I'm kind of trepidatious in doing that, because that might be 13 episodes in and of itself. 13 hours of what's gone wrong with WWE, indeed. But once again, it is, of course, the state of pro wrestling for November, December. It is, of course, John Orlando, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Don't forget, I'm on the Pop Culture Cosmos. John Orlando is on the PVD Cast. We truly appreciate everybody watching out there. Our coverage again of Survivor Series. You got any thoughts on it? Please let us know. We've got some great comments in there from JSJ, Universal. I've got some as well from Aussie, and also as well, I think some others on your PVD Cast, Michael Dodge as well. So great comments out there by you guys. Truly appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts. But if you have thoughts, please, the PVD Cast or Pop Culture Cosmos on Survivor Series as well. But my friend, still so much to talk about on the show. One of the things I wanted to talk about, we must not forget AEW because Tony Khan, he's on all these other places talking about all these other things, and talk about how much everything is great. Play a drinking game the next time he does a long form interview. How many times the man says great, and I'll just you'll be drunk by the end of the half hour. That's all I'll say on that one. But Tony Khan, bless his heart, is still plugging away with AEW because they're supposedly having a great year in AEW. Although again, it is a little bit better, I think, overall, maybe outside of the all-in attendance than last year. But he says it's a much better year. But okay, that's your choice on that. But one of the things I want to take issue with is that instead of focusing on building up ROH into being a maybe like an NXT level type program or anything like that, he is focused in on just throwing out titles for both the ROH and also as well AEW. His latest is this the national title controversy that was created. He announced that it was a national title, tried to tie it to the lineage of the NWA. Well, the NWA had a kind of issue with that, so they had to go ahead and work something out with that. But with that, the Continental Tournament, all this stuff. Again, it's like they're trying to evade creating storylines. So let's just create another tournament. Let's create another title. Let's create something else. I like a title tournament now and then. I like a tournament now and then. I like some of the things that he does as far as in theory done in a professional wrestling format now and again. But it seems like there's so much reliance on certain aspects of this business. And one of them is the number of titles. There's an obscene number of titles. I'm not going to go ahead and count off all the titles in AEW. And now don't forget the women's tag titles. That's a tournament going on as well. Oh, by the way, just wanted to let you know. So your thoughts, my friend, does All Elite Wrestling have too many titles on hand?
Well, I'm going to say this. I think that not only does AEW have too many titles, but I think the WWE has too many titles. I think the NWA has too many titles. I think this is an epidemic going across all kinds of wrestling companies and promotions, is exactly what you said. Rather than focusing on let's build a good storyline, let's build a good angle. The angle be we're just going to create the third dimension world championship, and that'll be okay, cool. That's what we'll do. We'll just fight for a belt. What they don't understand is it just makes those belts mean nothing. Nothing. It means nothing. Do you know why, as a wrestling fan, I liked Rob Van Dam so much? Was because he was like the ECW TV champions for like almost 2.5 years. Every time he stepped in the ring and defended that title, it was important. And I bought into it because I believed it, because of the way it was presented. None of these titles are presented like that. None of them are. And so they just become trinkets for the AEW talent or the WWE talent or whatever. Less is more in wrestling. And, I would probably say that whoever has Tony Khan's ear, if anybody does, needs to relay that information to him and say, hey, look, less is more in the matches, in these titles, in these wacky tournaments that you like to do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I agree. It just reeks of lazy booking. I know it was said, Universal said in the chat that it should just go to a regular booking committee or booker that has more knowledge of the pro wrestling industry and more experience in the pro wrestling industry. Although now he says he is one of the longest tenured bookers in his position in the business. He's recently said that as well. So you take that for what it's worth. Again, it just seems like there's not enough going on to excite anything around just the core base. Just the core base is being taken care of and appeased, and I just don't see the product growing and appealing to a broader audience. That's the issue I have with AEW. It's just, it's like, to a fault, it's similar to ECW, because ECW found its niche, catered to its niche, and could never really grab hold, even when they were offered, the TNN deal and Spike TV and all that, just could never grab hold of a large enough commercial audience, a large enough commercial audience, enough to be sustainable. In this case, you don't have to worry about that because Tony is providing all the cash. But I'll give you a case in point. Mercedes Monet, grabbing all these unoriginal, independent, no-name titles from all around the world. Okay, she got 13 titles. Was the goal to go ahead and capture the 14th breaking or record breaking, whatever title that she would be holding simultaneously with the AEW Women's World title? That's what I thought the goal was. But it proved not to be the case. She lost that again. She's lost it twice. I don't get it. I don't understand. Why become the belt collector if the end goal, and I'm not a big fan of Mercedes Moné since she's left the WWE. I'm not saying it, but if the idea is the belt collector, why do you keep, why don't you keep collecting, that big one? Or are you trying to do the storyline where she's chasing it and chasing it? It just, the way the story is being told on her case, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And it just doesn't provide anyone outside of the biggest Mercedes Moné or AEW's fans any incentive to keep on caring or watching when she doesn't win the biggest title, the only valid title of them all, of what she's got.
Yeah, because I don't know all of the titles that she holds. I heard a list of them read to me on another podcast. I don't know any of those belts. I don't care. I really don't, and that's all due respect to all those fantastic indie promotions that are lumped into the storyline. Hey, great for you. I mean, you're getting noticed and all that jazz, but for her, like, she's got to lose all those belts. And you talk about making something worthwhile. What kind of like believability is she going to have a year from now when she's dropped all these belts? Like, logically, there's nothing there that you can excuse it away. You're stuck with it.
Yeah.
It's going to ruin her career more than she realizes. And I agree with you. I think that she has, since coming to AEW, has really regressed in her skills. She was very capable in WWE, and now, left to her own devices, she's not hitting on all cylinders, if you ask me.
Well, again, we believe that there's too many titles. If you guys think there's too many titles in AEW, in fact, I think they've really missed the boat on Ring of Honor and trying to make that its own visible entity. I think Tony has really missed the boat on that one. But again, they have a lot of titles there too, and interim titles and all this. Again, it's just gives me a headache to even think about it. But yes, if you think that AEW ROH has too many titles, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Pop Culture Cosmos or the PVD Cast, wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube and Facebook as well, plus Twitch for me at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But wanted to go ahead and continue on our conversation. Again, it is the state of pro wrestling for November and December. It is John Orlando along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. The Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. And again, I said this last episode, John, it hurts me. This hurts me to see where we have come from to where we have been. I have deep, fond memories of being a Wrestling Observer reader. I still frequent the WON website to go check the daily news before I go and cross-check it with other news that reporting at the same thing or whatnot. And I was a Dave Meltzer reader early in my life, and it was something I believed in. Somebody that I thought I could go ahead and get good value as far as a journalist is concerned. It gave me incentive to become a journalist and get a journalist degree, and later in life, just to be quite frank with you as well. But last year I was livid. Some of the decisions made were really porous as far as who the fan base, what they were steered into because of the preference towards AEW and not trying to just call straight things down the middle. It just seems there's a clear bias towards All Elite Wrestling, which is, you, again, if it pays the bills, fine, whatever. But it is clear that there's now a business of criticizing Dave Meltzer more so than Dave Meltzer is actually reporting on the business now. There's a business criticizing him and there's a business of being him at this point in time. It's two different businesses, but they both generate a lot of revenue. With us, since we're doing this free, that's not the case. So don't worry about that. We're not gaining off of that. So I will just say this, my friend. The Wrestling Observer newsletter had its annual Hall of Fame. And at one time, this was the most valued Hall of Fame in the industry. I don't know now. Maybe the pro wrestling industry, pro wrestling Hall of Fame in Iowa, maybe Cauliflower Alley. I don't know now. But at one time, to fans, it was the Wrestling Observer newsletter Hall of Fame that was the pros most prized in all wrestling. Now, I don't know. Your thoughts, my friend? I'll go ahead and talk about the 2025 candidates and also the winners. But I wanted to go ahead and hear your thoughts on the Wrestling Observer newsletter Hall of Fame as well.
Well, I think when it was either last year or the year before when the Young Bucks got put into the Hall of Fame, that's when the credibility for me went right down the toilet. I don't like this idea, and it doesn't matter even no matter what Hall of Fame you're talking about, the WWE Hall of Fame or the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Iowa, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like this idea of people who are still in the business being mentioned or put into a Hall of Fame like CM Punk, like Cody Rhodes this year. I'm totally against that because their career is not written yet, so to speak. Okay. I also kind of feel, and this might be a controversial statement, but I feel like it was in poor taste to put Sabu in this year. It's just too soon. The man just passed away a few months ago, excuse me. And to me, it's like a sympathy let in. Like, oh, we'll put him in because he died. Put him in because of what he did. But the way that you present this, because you put him in this year, you're making it like it's, well, we need to recognize him because it's not that we want to, it's we have to. And I just think that does a terrible disservice to the memory of Sabu, a man who was so innovative in this industry. So I, like you, have a lot of concerns about this Hall of Fame. And you know, if you're talking about French wrestling promoters being put in, but yet Junkyard Dog and the Steiners aren't in, what the heck? What are we doing here, man? I don't know.
Yeah,
That's just my 2 cents worth.
it's very disappointing, my friend. Well, again, any any wrestling Hall of Fame that outside of the PWG Hall of Fame, in my opinion, that has the Young Bucks in it, is not a valid Hall of Fame anymore. It's just not the Hot Topic Hall of Fame. This is supposed to be the Wrestling Hall of Fame. And if there was any more bias evident, it was that induction last year, which again had me livid as far as is concerned, because they are nowhere near close to being considered Hall of Famers, in my opinion. And I'll just leave it at that. But this year, with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, again, I don't know if I'm as on the fence on that as you are. I'm a little bit more inclined to say, okay, yes, wouldn't mind. You know, if they're above the age of 40 and they've been in the business 25 years. Again, this is a different business, John, than the NBA or Major League Baseball or football. I mean, sometimes look at Terry Funk. He went into his 60s. Do you wait until he stops, wait until he had his 14th retirement before you went and, put him in the Hall of Fame? Or these guys go like Edge, Christian, if you thought of them as Hall of Famers, do you wait until they're finished? They're in their 50s and they've been doing this over 30 years. The Hardys, the same thing. I mean, at some point in time, you just got to say, you know what, 25 years above the age of 40, at that point, maybe you start thinking about it, or maybe 45, whatnot. Let's say 25 and 45. Would you be more amenable to that 25 and 45?
Yeah, I absolutely would. Yes, if you'd put that
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
stipulation on it, yeah, absolutely. Then I would say that that would be that would help to make me feel more comfortable with the nominees that they propose. Which, as a side note, I didn't see any, and I don't know where to look, I guess, or whatnot. But who were some of the other candidates for this year's Hall of Fame?
I'm still trying to find the ballots. I do know that, for instance, some of the names, like you mentioned, the Steiners are still on that list. Dick Rhodes and Dusty Murdoch, excuse me, Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch, Hart Foundation, British Bulldogs, Steamboat and Youngblood, Junkyard Dog, like you said, the Von Erichs, some of the big names in America. Again, Edge was on this list, FTR. Uh, that's another one where I'm not a big fan of what they've done. I know that they're very good technical wise, but have they achieved that next level of status? I don't even know if compared to the Steiners, the Hart Foundation, British Bulldogs, the Von Erichs, could you even put them in the category as far as what they've achieved? I personally couldn't. Becky Lynch, John Moxley was in there, Trish Stratus. I do know as far as that's concerned, Randy Orton, as far as the Briscoes, in Japan, Manami Toyota and Toshio Yamada was in there, Yoshioka Fujiwara, Satoshi Kojima, Hiroshi Tenzan, Io Shirai, Hayabusa, Inoki, and Sakaguchi. We could go all day on this. Like, for instance, Mexico, El Hijo del Santo en Octagon, Los Infernales, Sangre Chicana, La Parca. Those are names that were in there as well. And Europe, Otto Vons, I should say, Adrian Street, George Gordienko, Spiros Arion, who was put in it, were in there. And then names like Ted Turner, Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, Rossi Ogawa, Larry Matisic, Jesse Ventura, Reggie Parks, Gorilla Monsoon, Jim Johnston were just names involved as that well. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But last year, guys, people like Sid Vicious, Charlotte Flair, Asuka, they didn't even have enough votes to stay on the ballot, I don't believe. So that in itself is criminal in and of itself. So again, I have a lot of issues with it, my friend, but I just wanted to hear some of the names from you right there before I get into the winners of this year's Hall of Fame ballot.
I am pleasantly surprised that Reggie Parks is on that list because I would have thought that, for lack of any meaning of disrespect to Reggie Parks, but I would have figured that because he wasn't out in front of the public, like he was kind of more behind the scenes, being a world class belt maker, that he wouldn't be acknowledged.
But he's
And
in
he
a
should be.
contributor category. That's where they put
Okay.
like, for instance, Jim Johnson, who created the
Okay.
WWE music. Of course, Jesse Ventura as the announcer, Mike Tenay as announcer, or whatnot. So that's basically what happened right there. He's listed as a contributor.
Hey, again, I was surprised he was listed. So there you go on that one. Yeah, I mean, every year we talk about this Hall of Fame, and every year I think we have the same complaints: is that how does this person who has done X, Y, and Z for this industry not get in, but yet somebody else who, and again, I'm just using this because I think it's the most outrageous, is you got a French wrestling promoter. Okay, but you're going to put him in over the Steiners, over Junkyard Dog, over, is Goldberg on that list? I thought I heard
I
somewhere that
think he is
Goldberg.
on the list. Yeah, he is also listed as a candidate. So let me get down to and there are plenty of other names on the ballot as well that have been mentioned over the course of the past few weeks. But the results were CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Sabu, Gran Hamada, Spiros Arion, Darrell Dixon, Bobby Bruins, and Raul Paoli. I did want to mention I thought Asuka was the most successful with major titles outside of Japan for a Japanese wrestler. No, it's actually Gran Hamada, but she is the most successful for women. Outside of that, I did want to mention that Spiros Arion, who was a great part of the MSG days, as far as early days with Bruno Sammartino, and in the 60s and 70s. You know, Raul Paoli, I think, is the promoter that I guess that you have the issue with as far as the French promoter.
Yeah.
Bobby Bruins, Darrell Dixon, great names from the past. And then Sabu, you said about because of the timing of his passing that maybe people voted him just for that reason, not because he was the innovator of many hardcore things in the hardcore wrestling part of it. Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, yeah, that's self-explanatory there. And Gran Hamada, again, as far as being one of the major headliners for decades in Mexico and also around the world as well. So I don't have as much issue with this list personally. I would have put Mike Tenay in. I would have put Jesse Ventura in. I would have put Shivani in. I would have put other names in there ahead of Raul Paole personally. But again, I don't have as big an issue as I did last year, if that makes sense, John.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And yeah, I mean, Ted Turner. Ted Turner should be in there before Raul Paoli. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe this time next year, maybe we'll have some of these people checked off the list, and we can be more at ease with who got in. But I don't know. I mean, at least this Hall of Fame is not the WWE Hall of Fame, where who's going in? It's Stephanie McMahon. What?
Don't even get me started. Michelle McCool. Yeah, there's a lot. Coco Beware. There's a lot of individuals that that they were good to the WWE. They were model employees, or they just wanted. In the case of Michelle McCool, a lot of people have alleged because of her ties to the Undertaker. I'll leave that up to you. But yeah, the WWE Hall of Fame is not one that I mentioned as far as being legitimate. But I'd probably say Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame I was where I would lean to right now, or maybe Cauliflower Alley. But I'll leave that up to you guys. But again, the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame is not what it once was. I think there's some decisions that be made that I think I would not make myself. Some of them just leave a lot of us in the media scratching their head, and it's disappointing to say the least. But again, it is what it is, my friend. We're not running it, but I know he still has a lot of sway. Dave Meltzer has a lot of sway when he sets these up as far as the candidates are concerned, and outlines them and kind of tells you in his writing exactly who he feels should be in and should not be in. He still has a lot of sway, like AEW does, with its core audience, and more power to them for doing so. It's just, I realize I'm no longer part of that core audience. I try to think in a very rational type fashion about what I've seen over the course of my 5+ decades watching pro wrestling now. And again, I just feel I have disappointment when I don't see actual talent that should be rewarded first get in first with the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame because of once where it stood in the pantheon of Wrestling Hall of Fames, John.
Agreed with you on that. I can't say it any better, Gerald. I'm gonna just let you have that last word because
Oh man,
again,
you saw me. I was here live. I was so ticked. I was so ticked last year. God,
yeah.
I was so mad. I mean, how come Sabu Sid Vicious headlined main events? Yes, he did pass away. Could have said the same thing for Sabu as you did for him. How does he not get in? The guy headlined major events in the 1990s and early 2000s. The Steiners, considered the best tag team on the planet for years, and still not in. It's absolutely ridiculous. British Bulldog. You could the heart finish. You could go on and on and on about it, John. As far as what you look at it, it just leaves you scratching your head on who you're going in. Now, I might have a bias on Mike Tenay because I know him personally. I've met him personally, and he's just such a tremendous individual as far as the concerned. Las Vegas resident for many a year. I'll just leave it at that. And again, I've met him. He's just fantastic. His wife has been truly sensational to me as well as far as in the past. So I may have a bias there, but yeah, outside of that, when I look at it clear as I can, I'm just got to be scratching my head with a lot of decisions that have been made in recent years, John.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Although I think for our next topic, you have kind of already let the cat out of the bag for me in what I think. But anyways, I'll let you go ahead and, and introduce that next topic.
Well, I can't because we're going to be heading on out. We blab so much. We're going to have to set a separate episode. We're going to have to do an evergreen episode on who has the most superstar potential. Who is the next wrestling superstar? Is it someone like Braun Breaker? Is it someone like Dirty Dom Mysterio? Is it someone like Roxanne Perez? Is it someone like Kyle Fletcher? Do you still consider MJF in that mix? Do you still consider Rhea Ripley in that mix, or are they already there? We want to hear your thoughts on that. So please let us know, because we'll have an upcoming episode on this that we'll throw in at some point down the road. We'll have to record as an evergreen because we just talk so much about what's going on with the world of pro wrestling. But before we head on out, my friend, I did want to mention, before I give it over to you and your plug for the PVD cast and what's upcoming for Matt Talk, next month's regular edition of the State of Pro Wrestling, my friend, is going to be a great one. It's one of our best of the year because it is the best of the year and the worst of the year as well. I think I enjoy being a heel and going off on the worst of pro wrestling each year more than I do the best, my friend, most years. I'll just leave it at that. What do you feel like that, my friend?
I'm looking forward to that because it forces me to do some homework, because a lot has gone on in this year, in this calendar year of 2025. So I gotta go back and do some research and do some due diligence and make sure that I have my facts aligned and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
We have 3 minutes left, my friend. Please go ahead and do the cheap plug. It is John Orlando telling you now where you can find his great work all over the internet. Indeed.
Well, PVD Cast is my own personal podcasting project. It's available at pvdcast.com or wherever you find great podcasts. This week, as we're just about ready to wrap up this week's episode, it is a preview with myself and Ringside Rand talking a little bit about what we anticipated for Survivor Series. So that's up right now. Of course, we're going to kind of do a recap as well this upcoming week towards Thursday. That'll be dropping real soon. But anyways, a lot of great content over there. Gerald's been on several episodes recently, as well as some other talented comic book folks from the local indie comic book scene and whatnot. Also want to, of course, mention too that Matt Talk, which is not wrestling related, but indeed TV related. Matt Talk is the only Matlock-based podcast on the planet where my partner and I, we watch an episode, we dissect it, we talk a little bit about it. We poke fun at it, not too seriously because it is Andy Griffith, for crying out loud, and he is an American institution. Anywho, but yeah, definitely check out either one of those. Matt Talk can be found over on Facebook, Matt Talk Podcast, at Matt Talk Podcast. It's also available over on YouTube and all these other social media outlets that myself and my partner have. And real quickly, I want to say hello to Michael Dodge. Mikey, haven't talked to you in forever, so thank you for checking out the episode. Appreciate it so much, man.
Absolutely. And to everybody else that watched, including Aussie overseas in Australia, wanted to go ahead as mentioned as well. Big shout out to Universal UM on YouTube, and of course JSJ. Always a great time when I get to see JSJ, especially on the Lakers Fast Break. And then, of course, what we do on the Pop Culture Cosmos as well. Josh Peterson and I will be back doing a show this week talking about the holiday weekend and more tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, way early tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that. But again, it is, of course, the State of Pro Wrestling. John Orlando and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. We'll be back next month for the best and worst of pro wrestling. And who knows, we might have a special episode on the upcoming Superstars of Pro Wrestling coming soon, right at you from the State of Pro Wrestling, from the PVD cast, and your friends at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Ding, ding, ding! It's time for the State of Pro Wrestling, scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. And now, from parts unknown, your tag team champions of the world, John Orlando from the PVD cast and Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos.